nerdy, unqualified, and indistinguishable from rambling. Welcome back to the A&D Show.
I can't believe people actually listen to this show.
Man, they are not ready for this.
My opinion's always correct, but you're allowed to be wrong.
All right. I agree. What's up?
Hi. Welcome to the A&D Show. I am Austin.
I'm David, and this is a flipped script.
So good to see you. I pulled a fast one on the other day, but I just took over. I was going to be in charge this time.
I mean, you're the boss.
I am far from
the A&D Show.
Yeah, that's on you because you're the one that made everything up. You've done all the work on this whole podcast. I just show up to talk about stuff. So that's a you problem right there.
Hey, you know what? It's fine. I don't mind putting others first. It's the way I live my life.
It's good.
You know?
It's good.
We got a big show tonight. It's going to be probably not the longest of episodes that we've ever recorded, but I feel like we've had a really good run of 60 plus minute shows. The past.
It's I can talk. You know that. Like I can talk about stuff.
We both can.
It's hard for me to go for an hour straight. Like it's difficult. It's a challenge for me. This will not be as long as the hour and 24-minute Mysteries of the Deep that we did. That was a borderline marathon. That's a movie, dude.
That was a big one.
That was a mid-90s movie that just they were never long in the mid-90s. They were short. Hour and a half was insane.
The A&D Show, the movie.
Do you remember whenever Dark Knight came out and it was like almost 3 hours long and people lost their minds?
Yeah.
Like people were going insane. Like this is a 3-hour movie. And now, like most big budget films are 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing that 2.5, 3, like the one we're going to discuss this evening.
Well, it's funny that you mention before we get into it. I want to just kind of hang out here for a second because it's funny that you mention film standard lengths because there was if you look historically, feature films, movies, going to the theater was a big ordeal. It was expensive and people didn't do it often. They didn't do it every week like some of us do. And so those movies tended to be longer. I mean, perfect example of a movie that's really held up and is very much beloved through the years is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The movie's almost 3 hours by itself. And because it was so long, they looked at it as an event, not just watching, and they put an intermission.
Yeah. And
they gave you a break, kind of like you would in a nice play, a nice standard Broadway play that's usually around 3 hours, 2.5 hours. And they put an intermission in there. You go to the bathroom, go get snacks. They don't do that anymore. But what's funny is that historically movies were longer because they were bigger events, giving people more bang for their buck, so to speak. And then, as time went on, they were like, we don't want people to sit here that long. We want to put more movies in and get more money out of it. So they shortened the length of the movie.
Because the way I see it, like I think about Dark Knight, right? That comes out when it comes out, and you can do 2 showings a night because you got to clean the theater before. But if it's 2 hours or less, you easily have 3 showings in an evening. You have the 6:30,
one screen,
the 9, and the 11:30 because there's always a late night showing.
Yeah, and if you do matinee, you can get another showing or two ahead of that schedule.
Do you remember the days of the midnight release?
Oh yeah,
I remember the last Matrix movie when that came out. Like, man, what was that? Like 2006 or whatever. Like that was a minute ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that came out and we did the midnight release for that, and it was 3 hours long, and it was
Well, I just remember back in the early aughts, 2003-ish era, when Lord of the Rings trilogy began.
Oh, speaking of which, hey, 4K remaster coming out. Did you see that?
That's awesome.
Still disgusting.
I'm
I know you are. I'm not. I'm not a fan. I think they're fine movies.
Fine. But here's the thing.
I'm not a huge fan.
Here's the thing, though, that was so shocking about those movies. Besides the fact that it was probably one of the most beautiful movies ever made, probably one of the most culturally significant movies ever made. In
Culturally
the opinion,
significant.
yeah, in the opinion of many, many people. Shut your mouth. But what was interesting about it, talking about film kind of runtime, those movies theatrically came out pushing 3 hours minimum.
Yeah.
I think the first one was 2 hours and 58 minutes or something
Yeah.
like that theatrically. And then they announced just a few years later, 2-3 years after the last movie came out, maybe even less than that, that they were going to be releasing extended cuts. And then, typically you think of an extended cut like, okay, maybe 15 more minutes of footage, alternate ending, director's cut, that kind of stuff. Not really much different, just a ploy to make more money. No, they added like a whole hour or more.
And that's why I think that I didn't like it, because you made me watch the director's cut or the extended cuts, and I'm sitting there
because they
I'm
are the
dedicating
supreme.
like 14 hours to 3 movies, and I'm like there were some cool scenes, yeah, but I'm like, this drags a little bit for me personally. Others loved it. Not my.
The thing is, as a fan of the books as well as the films, the books, because of the extended kind of slower pace, it was more faithful, or it felt more genuine to the books. But anyway, going back to the whole like runtime thing, it's just funny to me how, years and years ago in the early days of movies and theatrical releases and stuff, there were longer and they had intermissions, and that was just part of the thing. There were some films that were 5+ hours long in that era, but now, and then over time throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, film runtimes got shorter and shorter and more concise storytelling, which nobody complained about. But they did that so they could make more money, more showings per day, and so on. And then now we're in this kind of renaissance of film that's like directors are given more creative control, and they're able to exercise their vision and their more art house style. I mean, look at like the Batman. Matt Reeves is the Batman. We've talked about that on this show many times. That film isn't just a good movie; it is a art piece. It is beautiful.
Right.
The entire, actually, and Matt Reeves was the helm in the captain's chair for these as well. But the entire Planet of the Apes trilogy is the exact same way. Those are art films. They're not just good movies, exciting films, but they're art films. The Dune series that you told me you just watched, same way.
Really
and I
enjoyed.
think,
really,
and I honestly think
that
that
I'm a year behind, but I really, or maybe 2 years. I'm looking about a year or two ago. A year ago,
I think it was 21.
I really, really enjoyed that movie. It was really fun.
Yeah. Well, and then what we're talking about tonight falls into that same category. Oh, wait, hold on. This just in. I smell like smoke. So just wanted to let that be
Burning a
well
fire.
known. Thank you very much.
I want to apologize because my tagline, I had to fix it because it said the Star Wars post prequels are garbage, but it said Star Wars post prequels is garbage. To be fair, not so smart guy here, so I'm very embarrassed by that I can't use proper English.
Your grammar's just, and your sister is a English.
I almost made fun of you for and said me no read book.
Me no read book.
But I realized that nobody would have been surprised by that because I'm not a reader, and you can tell by the fact that I can't properly use is and are in statements. I'm very embarrassed. I'm ashamed of myself.
I think our audience probably isn't even watching. They're probably just listening. I'm sure some of them watch. But anyway, all 24 subscribers on YouTube, we're talking about you, watchers.
Thank you.
And whoever, all the thousands of views we get from our shorts on YouTube. It's just such an odd thing. I was telling my brother the other day, I was like, we've got 20,000+ views on our YouTube channel from our shorts. We have like 2 views on each episode. If you're watching this and it's part of a short, please go watch the full episode. There's so much more we talk about that's so much more interesting. There's more to get. But anyway, let's get into the meat of this episode, because what we're talking about tonight is Rebel Moon. Now, and if it's better than Star Wars. And let me start by saying this. The Rebel Moon, I guess this is a series now, but I don't know if it's going to go beyond the 2 parts. I don't know if it's bankable enough, but Rebel Moon was
they're talking about it, like having spin-off like movies and stuff like that. Like they're talking about a lot of stuff with this universe.
Well, Rebel Moon was a originally pitched as a Star Wars. Did I lose my camera? Oh, I'm back.
There you go. Now you're back. Star Wars
Rebel
what?
Moon was originally pitched as a Star Wars property to Disney. And it was written and created or whatever by Zach Snyder. And it was something, a totally original story that was going to happen originally in the Star Wars universe, that was going to be completely separate, distinct, and unconnected to the grander Skywalker saga as we know it, because the world of Star Wars is vast. And I think we see that a little bit better played out in the video games, Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Jedi, whatever the other one was called.
Jedi. I just played it. I literally just played it because Jedi Survivor came out today on Game Pass. So I started playing that. I played it. It was Jedi. Oh, it's gonna drive me insane. Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. So and the vastness of the universe of Star Wars is a little bit more visible there. I know that Disney's coming out with some other IPs inside, or other shows inside that IP. Star Wars Acolyte, supposed to be more of a historical drama about the early days of Force users and the Jedi Temple and all that kind of stuff, which I'm excited about. But
looks promising.
It does, and and they've done a lot. And here's the thing, and I want to make this clear right out of the gate. Star Wars, it's even since Disney, which I think that the fan base for Star Wars is very divided because of Disney. But Star Wars, even since Disney, has a very, very, very rich world building. I don't think anybody would disagree that it's everything, regardless of how good the story has been, everything visibly has been breathtakingly good. The visuals, the visual storytelling has been good. It's just the actual story has been very weak.
Yeah, but I mean, I began having a lot of issue with the choreography. With it showed really, really bad during Ahsoka.
Yeah,
the choreography was atrocious. I mean, just really bad.
But set design.
Oh no, yeah, that part's great. Visually, Ahsoka was good.
Yeah,
but it feels like it's been dwindling now.
Yeah.
Or I mean, since when did Last Jedi come out?
Oh gosh, 17, I think.
17. So 8 years now. It's been just kind of slowly decaying.
Yeah, and it hasn't improved with the quantity. And I think we've talked about this in other episodes, that Disney has definitely taken a strong stand on quantity over quality, and this is a perfect example of that. But ultimately, Rebel Moon was designed, originally written and created to be a Star Wars spin-off story, not a spin-off, an individual created story in the universe.
I mean, spin-off works. I think in that use case, because you think Star Wars, you think Skywalker. So yeah, it feels like a spin-off in a sense.
But for whatever reason, Disney, Bob Iger, whoever, said, you know what, we don't want anything to do with this project. This isn't Disney quality, or this isn't Star Wars quality, whatever the case may be. They rejected it. So Zach takes this property over to Netflix and pitches it to them, and Netflix, God bless them, I guess, they find this as something that is a potentially direct competition to Star Wars, or an answer to Star Wars. And because you got Netflix in their little box, and then over here you've got Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, all that kind of stuff. And then down here you've got like television, Paramount movies and stuff like that on a kind of a third level that's doing Star Trek stuff. And so these two over here, and then you got Amazon floating up here in the cosmos somewhere, and they do one-offs every once in a while. But for the most part, you got two big bangers when it comes to to sci-fi. You got Disney and you got Paramount, and they do a great job. They're big, huge budget, beautifully made films, television shows, whatever. And Netflix has had a couple of one-offs, couple of shows, couple of series, and none of them really that stack up to what these other guys are doing. And so they're probably looking at Rebel Moon as, okay, this has got some, because Zack Snyder is nothing if not a very intricately woven storyteller.
Yeah,
he is. visually everything he does, everything he's ever done as a director has been visually striking to no end. And love him or hate him, you can't deny he has a very distinct. He's kind of like a better version of Michael Bay.
Yeah. Well, but see, that's I think that's the issue. I think you just said it. That's the issue with Snyder, is you said love him or hate him. There's a lot of people that just don't like Snyder.
Yeah.
They dumped over the Snyderverse. They dumped all over the Justice League a Snyder cut, which if you've seen Justice League and the atrocity that it was, and you compared that to the Snyder cut, you can't tell me that the first iteration of that was better than the Snyder cut.
No.
Now, granted, Snyder cut's a 4-hour film. Like, it's 4 hours.
It's a long.
It takes an investment, but the way they tell the story and they build the characters, especially the new characters like Cyborg and stuff like that are built. The way he does it, and we've talked about the tragedy surrounding his absence from finishing that up. But post Justice League, that universe went downhill in a hurry.
Oh yeah,
like it went south quick. And I think that's an absolute disservice to Snyder, in my opinion, based on I think how well he's able to concoct and tell these stories. It's and I'm not comparing him. So don't think that I am. I'm not comparing him to Christopher Nolan, because Christopher Nolan is one of a kind. Let's be real there. But it's that same kind of ability to take this story and just tell it, and you tell it so visually. But so Rebel Moon 2 comes out I think last week, and I had not seen the first one yet. So I said, okay, I'm gonna watch this for the first one. And I texted you that night. I was like 10 minutes in, and I'm like, hey, I said I just heard Rebel Moon. And I'm going to pull it up because I want to use my exact phraseology on that. But I said, oh, come on. Okay. I would love to discuss the similarities between Rebel Moon and Star Wars, and why this may be the best alternative to Star Wars. Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. I just started the first one tonight. So far, so good. Better than anything Disney has put out in nearly a decade. And I, as the movie went on, was it a perfect movie? The first one? No, it wasn't. There were some issues in there. I think parts of the story were told too quickly and kind of brushed over. And honestly, I'm not going to go spoiler warning on this. If you listen to this podcast, you're into nerd culture, so you've probably already seen it. And if you haven't, it's been out for a year or two now, and the second one's already out. So that's also a you problem.
Also, bear in mind that if you're listening to this, this is not live. You can pause this and go watch it, and then come back and hear these spoilers. If you,
I'm not in your house right now.
Yeah,
but so all right, so I as I'm watching this movie, I'm getting really invested in the characters. And there is an actor named Charlie Hunnam who
love Charlie Hunnam.
Yes. He was in a show called Sons of Anarchy that I watched years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's about a motorcycle gang. I really enjoyed the show, and I was really invested in this character. And the zenith of this first movie is him double crossing everybody.
Yeah.
And the entire time you don't see it coming until right before it happens. Right before it happens, you're like, hold on a second, like he's gonna double cross them. And
even while it's happening, while I was watching the movie, while it's happening,
I'm so like, oh, is this is this a trick to capture the bad guys or whatever? Yeah. And it wasn't. And I loved it. Like, I loved the movie. The fight scenes were really well choreographed. It was a fun watch. Visually, it was really, really good. They traveled multiple worlds. different environments. The CGI I thought was really well done. I think that we've seen a massive influx in very poor CGI in movies over the past couple years,
Yeah.
especially on the Disney front. And I'm not dumping on Disney. I'm really not. But a lot of the CGI in the last, the last 3 or 4 Marvel movies have been terrible. Now,
Yeah.
the Star Wars has not suffered from the bad CGI that I've seen so far. I think so far theirs has been very solid. A couple parts in Ahsoka were pretty rough visually, but for the most part, I think Star Wars has been mostly immune to the bad CGI, but not Marvel. And Marvel's budget is very large. And Netflix has invested quite a bit of money into this universe that Snyder is building. But I think that part of the problem with the Zack Snyder film is what you have from Michael Bay movies probably 10 years ago. Is that all it is just explosion and it's and people dump on them. You get the review bumps. Now, I've been told, and I've seen online that the second one has not scored very well from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'm going to be honest, I don't listen to the critics anyway.
Yeah, they're garbage.
I don't feel these are the same critics that talked about how She-Hulk was phenomenal. They talked about how the ending of Ahsoka was just perfectly done and it was just magical. They gave the Last Skywalker or whatever episode 9 was. The scores for that were higher than Citizen Kane. And so I don't trust critics. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah.
And so I can't sit there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna trust a critic on this. So I'm gonna watch that. I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't seen that one yet either.
I've not seen number 2 yet. But I do know that what I saw in the first one has made me excited for part 2, part 3, the expanded universe. I think that it's that what I've seen has been a little bit. I did watch the trailer for it after I watched the first one. I was so excited about the second one. So I watched the trailer, and they used the song "Cochise" by Audio Slave in it. And they kind of slowed it down a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in because that was a song of my high school days that I recalled. And but I mean, I think that I can say without a doubt, this movie to me I enjoyed a lot more than episode 7, 8, or 9. I've enjoyed it more than by large the Star Wars shows. I loved Mandalorian season 1. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And then season 2 wasn't bad. And then you had this off break with the Boba Fett or whatever. And then you had season 3 of Mandalorian. And that's when I really think that you saw the chinks in the armor for Star Wars under Disney and under Kathleen Kennedy. And then you have Ahsoka, which, man, there's a lot of callback. I loved seeing Hayden Christensen in that. And then that kind of wore off a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, I just think that for me, this could be the sign of the first ever true competitor to Star Wars for fans of Star Wars-esque shows. Now, I've not seen the Star Trek stuff. I've not. I do know that they're making a new Star Trek movie. I know that much. Which I'll watch. I've tried some of the Star Wars shows in the past, like the Next Generation, etc., Voyager. Never really enjoyed that much. But I was a huge fan of the Chris Pine Star Wars movies, and I still enjoy them. But I think that to me, this is just such a great movie, and I think if you haven't seen it yet, you really should take the time to watch it because it's really well done. Now, if you haven't watched it, you already know that the guy is going to double cross them. So I'm sorry about that, but we told you to pause it and watch it.
We told you to pause
it. That's a you problem.
We gave you fair warning.
We gave you a warning. But like I said, I'm really I'm really blown away with how much fun this movie was. And I do think that it's better than what I expected.
Yeah. I think the big takeaway here, and I think this might be the most divisive part of it, is that it seems like there's an entire sect of the audience of fans or whatever of Star Wars, Star Trek, sci-fi, whatever, Disney, whatever, that just for some reason don't like things that are new and original. It seems like
Yes.
now that's not to say that Disney is perpetrating a world of nothing but just rehashing the same old stories, but that's exactly what the or the sequel trilogy to Star Wars is. It's just a rehashing of the same story with different characters.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are deceived into thinking that
No.
it was something new and original.
No.
And that was one of the things about this Rebel Moon franchise that is so unique to me, is so engaging, is that it borrows from certain things that we've seen before: space pirates, androids, robots, oppression of the innocent people versus the evil people, and all that kind of stuff. Space
Plus
battles.
Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins is in this movie.
Is he?
He's a robot.
Oh, I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, which I'm a huge Anthony Hopkins fan. Love Anthony
Oh yeah.
Hopkins.
Oh yeah. World
So
class
good.
actor.
So good.
But the thing that was cool about this was that it was something new. It took
Mhm.
some of the things that we were used to seeing and it used them in a different way. I think
Right.
honestly, I didn't realize it was Anthony Hopkins, but I was going to bring this up. Their treatment of the android, the robot guy, and his development, his kind of arc that you see from start to finish,
Right.
with him being this subservient, essentially just worker bee robot to becoming a sentient being.
Mhm.
And what I'm assuming based on the trailers is that he becomes more of a king of robots or
Right.
whatever in the future, and goes into battle to fight for his own survival or his own freedom. Like those kinds of things, those are unique uses of those elements that I don't think we've seen before.
Right.
And it seems that the audience is so divided, where it's like, if it's not exactly the same with the same actors and the same story as we've had before, we don't like it. We don't have
Right.
any room in our on our shelves with our DVDs for new, original, exciting things.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the reasons why it's not getting quite the praise that it deserves, because it is a beautifully made film. It's well acted. You've got to, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call them all A-list actors, but you've got A-list quality easily within the fold. I mean, you've got some that are A-listers. You got your Anthony Hopkins but like, people like Charlie Hunnam is an actor who deserves a whole lot more opportunity than I think he's afforded.
He's such a good actor. He's
I've
such a good
never
actor.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything that I didn't like. He was great in Pacific Rim. He
Mhm.
was great in I
Is
think
it
it was
is it
called
is it The Gentleman?
The Gentleman. Yeah,
So good.
fantastic in that movie.
Yeah.
And he's a wonderful actor. And I can't remember the name of the girl that's the lead in this. I can't remember her name, but she was in The Mummy. She was fantastic in that with Tom Cruise. She's been in a number of other films, and she's a very impressive physical actor that doing
Yeah.
a lot of the physical parts of the stunts and things like that. Plus, the thing that I gravitate toward is accurate portrayal of emotion.
Mhm.
And I feel like the cast that Zach built with this Rebel Moon franchise is very
Yeah,
emotive
I
in a
do.
very organic and natural way. And so whenever somebody emotes something, you feel it with them. And I think that's incredibly powerful.
And I think for me, and this, not to be, I don't know, I'm not going to use the phrase misogynistic, and that's not my intention. Um, but a lot of times when you have fight scenes involving women and stuff like that, they're not believable. They're
Yeah.
just not. And I think the way that she was so good in her fight scenes that she made it believable. And
Yeah.
so did the lady with the swords, the Asian lady, like
Yes.
just so good. She absolutely killed it. She made the movie a lot of fun. Like her and her acting. You talk about emotions for the cast, and the way that you see her go through this development of, I'm going to run away because these people are just here to destroy, and
Yeah.
then she decides she's going to fight, and you see this, she does it so well that she makes
Yeah.
it. I don't know, she makes it so believable.
Yeah,
Um,
Sophia Boutella is who we're talking
yeah,
about. If you're listening or watching, and
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 she
we
did just phenomenal in the
we
movie.
should give credit where credit is due
Yeah,
because she is a wonderful actress. She
yeah,
does a great job. And I think the other actress you were talking about is Bae, B-A-E, Bae Duna,
yes,
and she's wonderful too.
yeah. They just, I mean, so often, and that was the problem with Ahsoka. It was not the main character. It was like her sidekick or whatever.
Mhm.
And her fight scenes they were awful. They
Yeah.
were terrible.
I
Like, I
haven't
mean,
even finished the series because when what I've watched of it,
yeah,
I knew that she was gonna be a primary character, and
yeah.
I was like, "I don't like her."
It was just really hard to watch. And so, but you get that a lot. You get the people. Oh, you don't like it because it's a woman led. I don't care. I don't care. I just want a good movie. I don't
Yeah.
care. I want a good movie, and I want good acting, and I want believable acting and good. If you're gonna have a fight scene, I want good choreography.
Yeah.
Okay, like I know it's fake. Like I know it's not real. Like I know you're not really fighting. You're not really stabbing, but I get it. I want good choreography. It's like people love pro wrestling. I watched WrestleMania. All right, like I can admit that. I'm not. I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I was a fan growing up, but I watched WrestleMania and like it's good choreography. Like they make it believable. That's all I want. For anything is I want the movie to be. I want to pause what I know and what reality is for a
Yeah.
moment and watch this and be like, "That was so well done."
Yeah.
Because I know when the movie's over that it's fake and it's all pretend. And so, but like I said, just across the board, the sound was so well done.
Yeah.
The score was really really well done. I think a lot of times what I have an issue with movies today. I'm a closed captioning guy because I think the modern sound mixing is garbage. I think that if you watch a movie anymore, you can't hear the dialogue. And maybe I'm just getting old. I'm almost 40, so whatever. But I'm a closed captioning guy. I didn't need it for this movie. I didn't have to have it. I didn't have to have it on because I could clearly hear what was being said because the sound mixing was done so well.
Yeah.
All around, every facet of this movie was so well done. And for some reason, it's not getting enough credit. It's not getting enough of the praise that I think that the movie rightly deserves as what could be the next good sci-fi franchise. Because I think that for people like us, there's a definitive lack of good sci-fi. The
Right.
closest thing you have, the closest thing that you have to sci-fi and fantasy is whatever show is on HBO that's like a Game of Thrones spinoff, and that's so lewd and grotesque that I don't watch it.
Right.
And so
House
there's
of the
not
Dragon, is that what it's called?
yeah, like that. There's nothing out there for me that enjoys a good sci-fi movie.
Mhm.
I just and the last few sci-fi movies have been like Ex Machina. Yeah, I know it's sci-fi, but it's more of like an artsy like what if kind of film, and I
Yeah.
want something like Star Wars because there is a hunger for that style of movie and for that style of storytelling, but it's just ignored
Right.
for
I
some
will
reason.
say in the same vein, I think something that has been made before that was in the same vein as Rebel Moon and received, I think, a little bit worse, I think, probably for it than for Rebel Moon, but something similar in the way that it's just kind of been disregarded and disrespected as an entry into the world of sci-fi was the show Firefly.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen the show Firefly?
All right, so that is on my list. I've never like actually watched it, but
Okay.
everyone I've talked to, and I haven't had a chance to watch it. I think on like Paramount. I think I need to watch it because
Yeah.
whatever it's on, I can watch it, or maybe Prime. Um, Everyone that I know that's ever seen that has said it's fantastic, and it only got one season, right? I got one
It
season before they canceled it.
it got 1 season, and then it got, a feature film to finish the full plot of the 2nd season, which I think they probably truncated to finalize it because it
Right.
wasn't renewed. But the reason why it wasn't renewed for another season, the reason why it only lasted one season, is because for whatever reason, the production house that was, I guess Fox, I guess is who it was, the network that they were on, aired the episodes out of order. They started with episode 4 or 5 or something like that, and the
That's
episode,
accurate.
and then they showed them out of order, and so nobody knew what was going on, and nobody tuned into the show because they aired them out of order, and all this character development was lost.
Of course.
But no, the show is available. It was a 2002 show. It's available on Hulu for
Hulu.
the base level subscription. I would highly encourage you to watch it for sure. But any of our listeners, it is probably the best answer to sci-fi, mega shows like Star Trek or whatever like that.
Yeah, I know that I want to watch that. That's on my wish list.
Yeah.
I know right now I'm gonna hit Dune 2 and I'm gonna hit Rebel Moon Part 2 before I watch that because Dune. I just keep coming back to man are we in this age where maybe science fiction is like coming back with Dune, with Rebel Moon, that maybe the nerds are finally getting something to what their palette with?
I think that's one of the things that's interesting about Zach and his kind of approach to this is that it's almost like, and maybe this is the way that it should be. In fact, I'm going to go on record and say this is the way that it should be, but it's almost like it's a fan making content for fans of sci-fi. He's not making, he's not making sci-fi for some political message. He's not making sci-fi because they think that it's bankable. He's making sci-fi and these shows because he's passionate about that kind of storytelling. And that's what the world needs more of, is people who love the genre making content in the genre. Now,
but you saw that whenever he had his hands on the DC universe.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, honestly, anything that he's done, he's approached, and the DC universe, his work with the DC universe, even before the DCU was a thing, back when he made The Watchmen, was a perfect example of, it was a passion project. It wasn't just he was making a movie that was good because of what it was. He was making a movie that was good because he made something he liked and that he was passionate about. And it's kind of like you can tell the difference between a movie that's made because they think it'll be profitable versus a movie that's made because they think it's a good story.
Right.
And almost without fail, the one that's made because it's a good story is far superior. And that was the thing with Lord of the Rings. And I don't mean to keep beating the same bush here, but Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson made those films and it was a passion project for him. He wanted to make faithful adaptations. He wanted to make them good, not just bankable. Because if they wanted to make them bankable, they could have cut a whole bunch of fluff, even from the theatrical release, and they could have made a more concise series of films. They could have adapted all 3 into a single movie that would have made a decent amount of money.
Right.
But because they let a director who was passionate about the source material create his vision for it, it became cultural icon that it is.
Right. And properly tell the story.
Right.
Properly tell a story.
And that, I think, was part of the reason why the original Star Wars, even the prequel trilogy, were so engaging, even though they had tons of plot holes and maybe they weren't using modern technology in a way that was, the most becoming for the film or whatever, but they were so much more engaging and enjoyable, is because they had somebody behind them that loved the IP, that loved the story, that wanted it to be good, not just wanted it to make a bunch of money. So, but yeah, Firefly is definitely high on the list of shows that deserved a little bit more love. And I think Rebel Moon is one that deserves a lot more love based on what I've seen. I'm excited to watch the second part. I haven't seen it yet either. So we'll have to get together after we both watch the next part, give some follow-up.
Yeah.
A little bit more spoilers.
I would just say in closing that, to me, I think that if I'm Disney and I'm Star Wars, I don't know that I'm feeling really comfortable right now, because I think the message is getting out there that this idea works, this genre works, and fans are hungry for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the amount of love that like Dune 2 got in theaters
Yeah.
is just insane for a science fiction movie. Um, for a recent science fiction movie. You know, the prequels, you had people lined up outside. That's and I still contend that the prequels are far better than anything in 7, 8, or 9. And you know my feelings on the prequels, that I believe that Episode 3 is the best Star Wars movie known to man. You know, I've said that before, and I'm not ashamed of that notion. But they've shown the people like Snyder have shown, and Dennis Villeneuve, that the genre works, and so um, Disney and Star Wars have got to figure out what they're doing, because what they're doing right now is not working, and fans are not getting happy.
Something I think that's important to note here. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the "What's Wrong with Hollywood" episode, and if you haven't watched or listened to that, I encourage you to do that, because it's pretty good insight on what's going on with Hollywood and some of the change that's happening, and I think that's positive change. Mostly to do with budgets and the appropriate use of budgets, because we talked in that episode about how Dune 2 had a sub $190 million budget, which is less than a third of some of these big tentpole projects from Disney, particularly in the Star Wars space, Marvel space. And if they can do what they did for those movies, make those movies beautiful, engaging, great to watch, striking visually, for less than a third of the budget of one film that is not good from Disney, then what's the problem here? And I think we sussed that out pretty well.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of tag on to that. The Rebel Moon film, this is going to blow you away if you haven't researched this already. This is going to blow you away, Austin. What do you think the budget for the first Rebel Moon film was? Just give me a guess.
125.
125 for the first film.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's a fair guess.
So I would say, well, all right. The way you're asking the question, I know it's probably lower. I would say from what I watched, 150, 125, 150, that area.
That's a fair guess. When you compare it visually, the cast, the direction, the quality, right, when you compare that with something like Dune or Dune 2, you get this comparable feel, and so it's not inappropriate, I don't think, to assume this similar budget. But what's crazy, this is going to blow your mind. The budget was $166 million, but not for the first one, for both of them. You're talking $80 million film.
$83 million per film, basically.
Yes, essentially.
And so that's the thing. That's the thing. Is it doesn't take $1 billion to do a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you have a movie that visually is stunning. You know, I mean, it works really well. You know, you show multiple landscapes, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Tells a good story, tells it in a way that's engaging, that's visually striking, with a great cast, that's original, and it's like, and that's the thing that, again, shameless plug. If you haven't listened to it, go and listen to our "What's Wrong with Hollywood" episode, because we talk about this at length. But that's one of the things that's crazy is if Rebel Moon, and you can love it or hate it, you can talk about it as garbage all day long, but the fact is, it is a beautifully made and crafted film.
Very well done. Very well done.
If you don't like it, it's more than likely because you just don't like Zack Snyder and his approach. But it's a beautifully crafted original story, and it's done literally on less than half the budget of even Dune 2.
Yep.
And then you look at Disney, and every movie that Disney comes out with is nearly $750 million, and they suck. Like, what's the problem here? Where is all that money going, Kathleen?
that you're right. I mean, that is true. You know, I guess you had to pay the money to get the corpse of Palpatine's, and that's when it lost me.
It's just
somehow Palpatine's still alive. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
What they didn't explain in the end of Return of the Jedi is that they didn't throw him to his death. They threw him into a freaking Bacta tank or into a sauna, and he just soaked for a few days and he was fine.
Just
So
so bad.
no, but the thing that's crazy to me is that we're looking at movies like, I don't mean to harp on it, but like Black Widow. Black Widow was not good. The visuals were not good. That movie was $500 million to make. There was literally almost 6 times the amount of money to make that movie as the Rebel Moon movie was. And you're looking at visual graphics that pale in comparison to Rebel Moon's quality, and you're looking at 6 times the budget. And so it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, well, clearly the lion's share of their budget is going to useless things that don't matter, because they're not paying their trailer editors to edit good trailers, because nobody gives 2 halves of a crap about a Disney movie when they see the trailer, because they give everything away.
Thor,
And they're not
Thor
putting-
Love and Thunder, $250 million budget. The Marvels, $274 million budget with a marketing budget of at least $100 million.
You're talking $400 million for the freaking Marvels. That movie, okay, in fairness, that movie wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but it was garbage compared to this. I don't want to, okay, I need to stop talking. I'm getting hot in the collar about this, but listen, here's the thing. We got to keep this in mind. When you, as an audience, which I don't think any of our audiences falls into this category, because I think the people that listen to what we have to say probably agree with our opinions for the most part. But when you have these beautifully made original stories come out like this that are made at a fraction of the cost of these big tentpole garbage films from Disney and Paramount and whatever other big name studios that are coming out with these big expensive movies that suck. When you have these beautiful movies that are like this, that are created and crafted and original, and then you trash talk them, or you listen to these garbage paid off critics that tell you that it sucks, and then you decide not to go see it because of that. When you listen to that, what you're doing is you're feeding the machine that's making crappy movies that everybody hates and pocketing all this money from all these investors. $600 million. That's ridiculous.
Eternals,
For less than 6 of that, you got something like that.
Eternals, $236 million. Oh my gosh, terrible.
Yeah, garbage. We need to stop talking, because I'm about to say something I'm going to regret.
Well, and we talked beforehand about this will be a probably shorter episode, and we're at 45 minutes. So good job, everybody.
Right. Before we go, what are we excited about?
I'm excited that I said earlier, Jedi Survivor came out on Game Pass today. It's April 25th at time of recording. I am about 12 minutes in because I have children. So I played for a couple minutes when I got home from work today, and then we ended up playing Bluey instead on the Xbox, and that was more fun anyway. But I'm 12 minutes in. It's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend anyone that's not played those games to start with Jedi Fallen Order, obviously, so you can get the story. But really, really well done so far. They took what worked well in the first one and made it better so far. So I really enjoy it.
Good.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited about. I haven't watched part 2 yet. I want to watch part 2 of Rebel Moon.
Mhm.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited about some other projects that are coming out. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare looks
So good.
like it's going to be a riot. I'm excited about that. And I'm also excited about, I'm going to give another shameless plug here. I'm excited about The Beast of Trinity, Texas, the film that I'm associate producer and art director for. We're on the cusp of opening the website up and getting a merch store developed.
I did see that you got it. That you got someone to play the mayor of the town. I'm excited for you guys on that.
Yes, yeah,
I've been following along.
And with that said, I will say, for any of our listening audience, if you are excited about this, or if you want to learn more about it, we are going to have an episode here soon. I don't know exactly. I don't want to say exactly when. It might be next week. It could be another couple of weeks from now. But we're going to have an episode soon where the writer of the story and one of the executive producers of the film is going to come on the podcast with us. And we're going to talk a bit about it and just kind of dive a little bit deeper into what the story is about. some lore behind the monster, talk about some of the production and how that's going. So be excited about that. That's going to be fun. I'm pretty pumped about it. So more info to come on that. But other than that, I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to be a father.
It's coming up soon.
My wife is pregnant with our first child, and I'm excited to be a father so I can show our kid all these pop culture films. Ooh, man, I'm so pumped.
I keep hoping that my girls eventually enjoy Star Wars like I do, and so someday I'll get my 7-year-old McKinley. She'll be older than 7, but I'll be like, hey, let's watch Star Wars movies together. We're gonna watch them all the way through, and I'll be so excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to craft from an early.
We're gonna watch them all in order. We're gonna watch 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna do something else.
Yeah, the rest of them because they all suck.
They don't exist.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Comment below if you have any other ideas or things that you want to hear us talk about, or if you have opinions about some of our topics, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace out. Peace out.